Good morning, respected Madam Mrs. Roop Rashi Mahapatra, Chief Guest for today, Textile Commissioner, Government of India, uh, all the speakers, Dr. Gloy, all the way from Germany. Welcome and happy to see you once again here, joining us virtually with us. All the audience, industry members, students, teachers, press media who has joined us and who's continuing to log in. We are very happy to have you all here this morning, and I just wanted to share with you that this is a very humble effort by India ITME Society to motivate and promote the business activities for the textile and textile engineering industry. This last year has been a disappointment for many, especially the small medium industries struggled a lot. And the society being a non-profit industry body, it was our conscious decision that we should do an event nearing the end of the year, so that a certain movement is generated whereby the next year the companies can pick up and also be in touch, because many of them have not been able to travel and connect with their customers, connect with their dealers, distributors within India as well as overseas. So we said that let us create a platform where the networking can happen. You can reconnect. You can also contact, come in touch with new connects, business connects. And that is how this event has commenced, and we are executing it today. Our small team have really worked very hard to take care of every small thing, whatever we could think, because virtual events are something of a new in this, sphere of work. So if few things are not as per you expected, or some small deficiencies are there, I regret that and my apologies for it, but I can assure you that we have really checked and done our best. I would also like to share that this event is completely complimentary to all participants who are joined here, both as exhibitors and visitors. And we are grateful to the support we have received from Lakshmi Card Clothing and Lakshmi Machine Works and the International Trade Center Geneva, who stepped in to support the event, enabling the textile industry to benefit from this endeavor of India ITME Society. As an organization, India ITME Society stands firm in its commitment to provide quality service to the industry. We believe very strongly that all of us together, we are stronger and we can face any challenges which may come, which we are facing now and which may come in future. With this, I would like to request Mr. Hari Shankar, Chairman of India ITME Society and also Managing Director of Lakshmi Card Clothing, to give his welcome address and welcome all the esteemed guests and invitees to our program.
Thank you so much, Seema. Good morning and a warm welcome to our respected chief guest, the Honorable Textile Commissioner, Government of India, Mrs. Roop Mahapatra. Dr. Gloy, our keynote speaker, and with the technical presentation up very early in the morning all the way in Germany. Dear colleagues from the industry, friends, ladies and gentlemen, Good morning, one and all. With great pleasure, I welcome you all to this first virtual technical seminar, followed by a buyer-seller meet, which is organized by the India ITME Society. This COVID year 2020 has been a very difficult year for everybody across the board. However, when you face difficult times, it is important to know that challenges are a path to greater resilience and a way forward. 2020 has been difficult across the globe, whether it is the economic slowdown or even the mental, physical, and emotional problems brought on by the pandemic. Losing hope is not an option, and we need to soldier forward one step at a time to overcome this unexpected challenge. As the saying goes, tough times don't last, but tough people do. India ITME Society has always been the epitome of service towards the textile industry and has always stepped up to the plate when called upon by our members. The intent to organize the seminar and the buyer-seller meet is to give the necessary boost, hope, and opportunity to push forward, leaving behind all the disruptions and chaos of 2020, and to embrace the new year ahead with renewed hope and encouragement. We have participation today from around the world for this business event. Nearly 300 technology and engineering companies with over 400 textile technology and engineering products shall be available for 2 days of interactions on the 4th and 5th of December, making it the largest virtual platform for trade, investment, and sourcing solutions for the textile industry. We have participants from 47 countries who have registered to connect, network, and to explore opportunities. Keeping in mind the different time zones across the globe, this virtual event will be open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. to enable exhibitors and visitors to connect and network. This morning, we have the good fortune to hear from one of the most learned and popular speakers with a lot of information on the latest trends and innovations in our textile field. I'm very pleased to welcome Dr. Yves-Simon Gloy from Aachen University, Germany. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Gloy, and it's always a pleasure to have you talk to our forum. We still have fond memories of your presentation last time in Mumbai. It's a shame that we have to do it virtually this time, but I'm sure in the future again we'll go back to person-to-person contact. It is also a great honor to welcome our chief guest, Ms. Roop Mahapatra, who took charge as our Textile Commissioner on the 11th of June 2020. A brief introduction of our chief guest. She belongs to the 1994 batch IA&AS and was Director General Audit with the Office of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. She has traversed a very wide set of portfolios, gaining experience from policy and execution in both state administration as well as policy program implementation in the commodity sector. She has also done the external audit for the UN Food and Agriculture Organization and led the team for embassy mission audits in Southeast Asia. On behalf of all members of textile and textile engineering sectors of India, I extend a very warm welcome to you as Textile Commissioner and wish you a very successful tenure. This virtual platform connects India with the rest of the world, and we all look forward to hear from you, your vision for the textile industry of India, and what advice you have for us to overcome these unprecedented times, which is 2020. May I now invite you to speak a few words and to inaugurate this 3-day virtual technical seminar and business session. Thank you very much, and thank you all for attending today's event and being here with us.
Thank you, Mr. Harishankar. Good morning, everybody. Spinning jenny. Does the mention ring a bell? If I were to be in a face-to-face interaction with all of you, particularly the youngsters on the block, I would have loved to make the youngsters raise their hands. I trust all our elders know the importance of the event when in 1764 in the village of Stanhill, Lancashire, James Hargreaves invented spinning jenny. and patented it in 1770. One of the innovations that is credited to have fueled the Industrial Revolution. Today, 256 years down the line, the technology is improved by leaps and bounds, enabling global textile market size to be of the value of USD 961.5 billion per annum. I'm sure it will grow, keep growing with the CAGR of 4.3 as predicted, despite the setback in 2020. Respected Mr. Harishankar, Chairman ITME Society, Dr. Yves-Simon Gloy, Adjunct Professor, Clemson University, distinguished guests, eminent speakers, galaxy of textile industrialists, technocrats representing 47 countries, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this inaugural session of the largest virtual international business event for the textile and textile engineering sector for the current year, in which, as I understand, technical seminars as well as virtual DSM are going to be held. Textiles give identity, comfort to individuals. Textiles enable, empower, enrich the whole civilizational experience for whole of the humanity. That machinery, I would like you to read it as technology, provides core input in process of connecting fiber to people goes without saying. From giving scales to production capacity of the manufacturers, to reducing the drudgery of labor and protecting environment in the process cycle. Textile technology and machinery is the mode. All of you are more aware than me, but machinery does form a very important part even on the cost analysis, between 20 to 18 in terms of the total production, and in terms of project cost in the range of 35 to 60%. Hence, any activity to protect, garner, and promote the segment is core to the growth of textile material. As such, all of you have evidenced that India has supported technological upgradation in textiles for more than 2 decades, facilitating our industry to achieve quality, quantity, and meet the aspirations of TV millions. That the sector has the right focus in the consumer is well evident in the very first technical lecture scheduled today, the wish to make it right for all customers. I am happy to note the hard work and imagination gone in designing this biggest virtual event, which also dwells on safety and sustainability, strategies to drive success in post-COVID scenario for textile industry. This is the need of times when global demand scenario is still slow, though on Indian side I do find some green shoots in rejuvenating confidence for this large all-encompassing sector due to onslaught of pandemic. As Mr. Jaishankar said, I would like to repeat, the organizers have to be congratulated for having grabbed the opportunity within these challenging times. When we joined the services, there was, India was undergoing a lot of change with the first set of liberalization being in place. And we were always told the difference and to grab the opportunity within the challenges when the systems have to change the gear and become facilitators. And I'm happy that that has been done by ITME. I'm told by our executive director, just to repeat for the benefit of all who are present here, that about 282 technology and engineering companies are going to be there, with 400 plus textile technology engineering products from 18 countries are available. That's huge, and I'm sure that will pull up the sentiment significantly for the whole sector world over and specifically for our Indian partners. I congratulate the organizers for their enterprise, which is reflective of the inherent strength and tenacity of the industry. I am happy that participants from 47 countries who are looking at expanding, developing their textile industry have also registered. I, from government, request that all of you start working more closely with Indian textile engineering industry. I am very thankful to have been invited at this event because after joining very recently, Government of India I have been part of deliberations where one has seen the need for enabling the ecosystem. And with this interaction, my feedback to the system becomes stronger. This also gives me an opportunity to learn about the preparedness of our industry and technocrats to achieve similar position on world map in the field of textile engineering and machinery manufacturing as we have in the field of textile products. Friends, it is not for me to assert the spread and strength of Indian textiles, giving the world rich tapestry of textile heritage story for eons. From fiber to fashion, India has one of the largest and unmatched raw material base and manufacturing strength. Indian textile industry is blessed with visionaries, even some of them present today, blessing us in many conglomerates who are driving the mission to not only match but surpass the global peers and take pole position in textile value chain. That there is need for targeting scales by consolidating the amazing but distributed strengths, intertwine disparate elements in the textile value chain, reduce costs, and achieve global competitiveness in quest for bringing about a promising future for this industry goes without saying. The time to act is now. The challenges are now, and we need to take on the challenges head on. As all of you may be aware by now, to bring the change in ecosystem and enable and encourage the enterprise, under the great leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister and his guidance, Government of India, through Ministry of Textile, has recently approved a scheme of production-linked incentive with an outlay of more than 10,000 crore. It is to boost production, to make Indian goods competitive, and expand exports as part of global value chains, MMF-based apparels and technical textiles. For technical textiles, a mission has already been launched to strengthen the presence in the spectrum of technical textiles, which cover the civilizational aspirations from humble agriculture to space applications. The arena is wide and it gives opportunities for investment and growth for textile technology, textile machinery based on innovations, solutions across the world. We expect to witness some of this in some of these solutions, some of these aspirations in this large expo. To augment the strengths of the sector, ministries are envisaging to establish 10 mega textile parks with minimum size of 10-acre land. I'm sure quite a few of you must have been part of the deliberations. It is just to reinforce that the whole ecosystem is looking at supporting the enterprise in the best possible manner. As such, at present, based on our ATF data, which I have recently started handling, I gathered that most of the machinery which we get, which is 75% of the equipment, machinery, technological upgradation, is imported. We are blessed to have that kind of relationship, but we also have strengths to be able to replicate it in our own land. We do have some strengths on par with international standards in some segments of the textile value chain, like ginning, spinning. Yet, from the studies, it is gathered and the stakeholder interactions, I understand that we need to cover a lot of technological gaps, be it auto corners, binders, fancy doublers, shuttleless loom, synthetic dyeing, technical textiles, weaving, etc., etc. These technical gaps are also the opportunity to have joint ventures with international leaders, and also attempt to indigenize, innovate in the process of this movement to make our exports cost competitive. We do have some successful JVs beside having 100% Indian and foreign subsidiaries in all segments, from spinning, weaving, processing to textile testing and even hosiery segments. Can we look at increasing this whole space? It can be estimated that we look forward to increasing the Indian textile market size to about 250 USD billion USD in next 5 years. Based on the studies which I could lay hands after joining him. The machinery segment would any case catalyze the significant investment with this kind of a vision, and will give opportunities for joint ventures and investments from world's best textiles machinery manufacturers to have collaborations in India. The government is looking for cooperation in the field of weaving, knitting, processing, embroidery, and garment manufacturing. I especially urge garment machinery manufacturing. I especially urge all the leaders, European, Japanese machinery manufacturers, to come forward and join us in this growth journey. I also consider that India has all the potential and technical prowess to indigenize processes and strengthen them to enable our producers in manufacturing of specialty fibers and yarns to be used for manufacturing of high-end technical textiles. Can we look forward to developing ourselves as a hub for sourcing MMF-based apparels? This could be one of many avenues where we work as India for the world. We consider that our industry can take on the challenge while we from the government continuously strive and provide environment to enable their efforts. The way industry pushed up India to the second position in the wake of pandemic in mask overall within few months of onset of pandemic is the testimony of the capacity to adapt and rise. Together as Team India Textiles, we shall ensure that textile industry is well prepared for the opportunities that are opening up in the post-pandemic era. As for the very well chosen themes for the deliberation today, I look forward to listening to Professor Yves-Simon Gloy. Customer delight is the key phase here. You could be composite mill owner or a small component manufacturer. You must work towards ensuring that your target customer identifies you henceforth by the experience your family delivers. Could we intertwine technology, AI, analytics to ensure building feedback in the manufacturing process? To reach out in the manner our customer is looking up to us. Sustainable manufacturing. In one of my initial interactions with the stakeholders, I had underlined that any enterprise has to have sustainable manufacturing. Not a fact which only I am saying, I am only reinforcing which has been said by all others along for many years. To make products using processes which are non-polluting, that sustain, conserve energy and natural resources, and are economically sound and safe for employees, communities, and consumers. Today, the world is reeling from the impact of COVID and has ushered a new normal for us. All of us are living that, and one of the representation is reaching out to all of you through a virtual medium, which is actually a strength because I feel in some ways one is able to reach out to many at one go. So let us look at the strength in the challenges. And we know that customer is not only aware but assertive. Hence, more so now than ever before, sustainability and material efficiencies are crucial to businesses while addressing the preference shifts surfacing in the global and domestic fashions. that leads us to defining long-term sustainable growths that nurture growth. It is worth looking into a range of investments which can boost short-term incomes and employment simultaneously. Considering the sector, at least for India and world over in most of the places, is one of the largest employment generator also. One looks at increasing the capacities in new areas to enable employment. I look forward to listening to luminaries on sustainability paradigm, which is multifaceted and maybe at times complex. I agree it is complex to operationalize across all points in industry value chain. I must mention that there is no success story of brand India which can exist without mentioning contribution of India ITME Society to the textile fraternity. The association has been instrumental for many decades, as all of us saw in the initial video, in providing ideal platform for many Indian companies to gain global awareness and presence. I am sure that webinar today will impart necessary information and contribute to improving the textile ecosystem. With this, it's my great pleasure to declare this event open. I wish all the participants a successful and fruitful 3 days of technology and business interaction. I myself look forward to learning from the deliberations. I hope that qualitative dividends of these inputs which we gather here will give quantitative sustainable strategies to many across the whole arena of textile industry across the world. With best wishes to all, I sign off. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Madam. It was great to hear your views and your vision for the industry. Your presence here today is a great motivation for all the members who have joined here, who did not have an opportunity to interact with you due to the COVID. We are also very, very grateful to you for accepting our request and invitation. I know that at a very short notice, with everything you have been doing in your office and personal time, you accepted my request and invitation and agreed to join us here to address this gathering from bottom of the heart on behalf of all members of the textile and textile engineering industry, as well as the management of India ITME Society and the staff of India ITME Society. I thank you. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to see you, and we hope to, I can already see a lot of requests coming, ma'am. When time permits, you can look at the chat. There is meeting request, and even overseas government officials are leaving messages. So we will share at a later time as well. So I think, and also congratulations for the new assignment which you have taken up, and we wish you great success in your tenure as Textile Commissioner. Proud and honored to welcome, and once again thank you. With this, I would like to welcome Dr. Gloy, who's joining us all the way from Germany. Dr. Gloy, thank you for, I think you woke up very early for Indian textile industry, but it's not just Indian industry who is joining you. I can see delegates from various countries who are already connecting. We also have group joining from institutes wherein they are on a screen together, they are joining in. So a large number is on screen, eagerly waiting to hear from you. Let me give a brief introduction. Many of you must have already attended Dr. Gloy's previous lecture in December 2019. He is Adjunct Professor in Clemson University, Germany. He's a private lecturer at Aachen University and also a senior consultant with GOI. Dr. Gloy's educational background is mechanical engineering from Aachen University, and he specialized in textile machines. Dr. Gloy completed his doctorate at the Institute, I can't pronounce that name, but Aachen University, Germany. And he was a member of Institute's management of ITA, where he heads the Textile Machinery Production Technology Division. He's a qualified private lecturer for the subject Digitization and Automation in Textile Technology at Clemson University in South Carolina. Dr. Gloy is also author of 270 articles and has given over 100 presentations on many international platforms. A great honor and privilege to welcome you, Dr. Gloy, and we all look forward to learn from you. We have technical teams from many manufacturing companies who are very keen to hear you. So the floor is yours, and then it will open to the audience who can ask questions at the end of your session via chat, and you can select the questions you are able to answer within the given time. I hope Mr. Marcus is here. Yes. Welcome, Mr. Marcus. So we have Mr. Marcus also, who's joined from Germany. He's associated with GOI, and he will be in supportive role to Dr. Gloy. Dr. Gloy, all yours.
Okay, so let's see. I like to share my screen that this is working. Now you see it big? Yes, okay, now it's working. Yes. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And now you see my question, do you know my muesli? Okay, yeah, well, do you know my muesli? You know, I always like to start my presentations with a question. And my muesli, that's something German, it's something like my porridge. It's my porridge. So what is my muesli? And I skip to the next slide, and you see that's a screenshot of their website. That's a screenshot of their website, and you see my laser pointer is working. You see there's a muesli mixer. Mix your own muesli, and then you go here to the muesli base, and your oat flakes, spelt flakes. You click on the flakes that you want, and then you can select ingredients like fruits, like apple or apricot or that, you see, and then I choose crunchy honey and apple. So that's my favorite. They all go into my muesli. And at the end, you see, after I created my own muesli, after I mixed all the ingredients I like to have in my muesli, I'm still able to give a name to the muesli. So that's the ITME style muesli. And I even can choose the packaging. I can choose a design, you see, and at the end, I have my own muesli with my name for a dedicated price. And that's a brand in Europe, in Germany. They do have stores at very dedicated shopping malls in Germany. And as you understood, that's already a very, very good example for lot size 1 production, fulfilling customers' need. So I'm very happy that I present you. Let me say some words to welcome. Of course, I like to welcome also Ms. Roop Mahapatra, honored Textile Commissioner of the Government of India. It's a pleasure to be here together with you on our virtual stage. Very glad to meet you. Mr. Hari Shankar, chairman of ITME Society. Also, again, I'm very happy. I'm very pleased to join you again for an event. You know, ITME, when you contacted me and asked me to join the event, you know, ITME Society is playing a leading role in our global textile industry. So there was no doubt for me, no minute, no second to think of should I join, should I not join. I'm really, it's a pleasure for me to be here. And of course, I like to thank big thanks to CIMA and their technical team. I must admit, it's working perfectly. It's working smooth. Everything is perfectly organized. So CIMA, it's again, it's a pleasure for me to work together with you. And if I took a real good look, we do have 550 participants. 550 participants. That's amazing. So it's already congratulations to that. It's going. And of course, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear students, everyone who's listening right now, I'm very sorry that I cannot be present in India this time. As you already heard, I was in Mumbai last year for the ITME event. I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, well, the pandemic forced us to have the event like this, but it's working, and I'm happy that maybe next year after the pandemic, we will have the chance to meet each other, to interact, because that's something I must admit that's missing. That's missing for me. So I will give a presentation, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit longer, on lot size 1, the wish to make it right for all customers. After my presentation, as said, we do have some time for question and answers. So, and as I saw in this tool here, there is even a question and answer form. I see some first questions already being raised, so that's working. Please, since we have so many participants, for sure there will be a lot of questions, and for sure I will not be able to answer all questions, but do not hesitate to get in touch with me after the presentation. I think also the slides that can be shared or my contact data is available, or if you Google for me, so don't hesitate to get in touch with me. So in the presentation, I will talk, of course, a little bit. I will show you some more examples from different industries. I will talk a little bit of the theory about lot size 1. So what do you need to think of if you like to make lot size 1 business? I will talk a little bit about technology, not so much, and will show examples from the textile industry. Of course, some examples I already showed last year, but from a different perspective. So again, there might be some examples worth to discuss. And yeah, I will close my presentation with a little summary, and as said, then the chance for a question and answer. And I kindly like to ask the technical committee, whenever there's something not good, the slides are not showing well or so on, please feel free to interrupt me and to say, okay, Mr. Gloy, please speak louder or go back one slide. That's of course possible. There are videos in my presentation. We did have a perfect organized preliminary technical check. Everything was working fine. I hope that the videos right now are also working fine. If not, I put the links inside the presentation, so you should be able to click on the links and then see the videos yourself. Okay, enough for presentation. First slide, and again, as you already mentioned, Sima, I'm working as a consultant for GOV Germany. I'm sitting right now in my home office in Berlin. We have a nice office in Berlin, but since a couple of weeks, I'm sitting in my home office due to the pandemic. And also, my wife is pregnant. She's right now in the 37th week. So 3-4 weeks left until my first kid will born. And of course, we don't like to get too risky, and having me in quarantine, not be able to join the birth of my kids. So I'm staying a lot in my home office right now, but that's working quite well. I'm founder of A.C, another dimension of textile configuration. a startup in Berlin dedicated to the topic lot size 1 and digitalization in the sewing operations. And as you said, Sima, I'm a lecturer at, and that's really hard to pronounce in German, Institut für Textiltechnik, I must admit. But, you know, we keep the word always in German as a brand. It's Textile Technology, but I know it's German, it's hard to pronounce, but it's at Aachen University. I'm also lecturing at Clemson University in South Carolina, and I'm lecturing at Technical University in Chemnitz. So my day is not boring. There's enough to do, always dedicated to textile. Okay, let's continue with some more examples. And you know, when I was first in touch with lot size 1, and yeah, that's in Europe. You see a lot of use cases, business cases. So here, you know, here's example. It's called Care Of, and it's about vitamins and supplements. So just to explain what's happening there. So you get a personalized health plan with vitamins and supplements. So if you go on their website, there is a questionnaire, some things you can answer. So they assess your supplement needs. And afterwards, after you give your input, after there's a customer interaction, they recommend some vitamins and minerals, put that into a personal sachet with your name on it. And then you get these supplements on a frequently based, and you see here, same plan. Here's a graphic designer. He gets some elderberry for immunity and vitamin D and fish oil for his heart breast. And you see, and then it's coming here, that's made for Emma. Hi, Emma. And there is then the ingredients for her. So that's, again, a consumer good example of lot size 1 production, something that's personally developed, produced for one customer. Another example, also consumer goods, that's a function of beauty, a hair care product. Also in this, you see, the customer will get a 100% customized hair and body care product. And also here on the website, the customer is asked to tell something about the hair and body. Then he has to choose a color and the fragrance. And then they will formulate a unique formula with your name. And oh, there's a solution room. So that's always something very important for these lot size 1 customization. The comment says there are trillions of possible formulations, but there's just one formulation for one customer. And you see something, how that's working. You select your hair type, hair structure, moisture. Then you can set up some hair goals, whatever goal. Here you see lengthen the hair or give more volume. And then there's a formula being made for you. And again, the packaging is adapted to the customer. And yeah, well, it's sent. And of course, that's another example of a consumer good where this lot size 1 production is realized. And I can tell, as I said, becoming a father right now, also with baby products, there's a lot of these elements. And my wife, she's right now spending some time. Since we have pandemic, she also cannot go outside. She's spending time with companies on their website, designing, you know, individualized, personalized products for our kid. And you know, somehow she said, well, it's not like something everyone has. That's something individualized for me. And so the connection to the product, it's very different, but I will point that out later on because that's really important in this field of lot size 1 production, as mentioned before. So again, another example that you probably know, here mobility, and it's already going into direction of textiles. And yeah, here maybe a little bit more new automotive brand Tesla. As you see, also on their website, it's possible to select the car, then select exterior and interior. And I must admit, so Tesla is offering 3 different styles of interior. That's not much. If you compare that, for example, to, of course, in Germany, we are proud of our automotive brands, but if you compare that to maybe BMW or Mercedes-Benz or Audi and Volkswagen, they do give you a little bit more of selections than just 3. But at the end, it's again, you see, there is a common pattern in these kinds of products. There's again a website somewhere where the customer can configure its product. And the configuration that the customer can do, it's not, it's not endless. The producer of the good, he will give a certain solution room to the customer. He can say, okay, you can get the individualized product, you can configure your product, but please choose between option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop. There's not, you don't see all the colors or all kind of leather or surfaces that's existing, because for sure, of course, the producer of the product has to make sure that the production capacities and the supply chain he needs to set up in order to offer this needs to be coordinated and well organized. So you see customer interaction, giving a solution room, and that's also something what's important from a business perspective. Of course, you see here price wise. No, it's more here. You see something often where you can demand a higher price for your product when it's individualized, for sure, because the cost structure of your product is different if you produce this with a lot size 1 strategy. But since, as I explained, like my wife, she says, well, I prefer to have an individualized product because that's something for me. So the value of the product to the customer is also higher. So that's also one reason why you can demand for a higher price for individualized product. And there are other examples in the field of mobility. So here you see that's Maibu. It's a German bicycle producer, and he's producing bicycles with frames made out of bamboo. Oh yeah, it's a composite material. I would say you could say that's a technical textile. And you see also in this case, you have a configurator on the website. The customer can choose first the model of his choice, then he can select between different frames, and then he can select accessories and upgrades. And you see, that's quite a price. That's 4,500 euros for a bicycle. Imagine that's quite a price, but it's individualized, and this company is doing well business with these individualized products. So lot size 1 production in here, and maybe you see a little bit since the producer is giving somehow a solution room to the customer. Of course, there might be customers designing the same product. There is the chance. So it's not like it's unlimited, but it's more going into modularization, but still, giving this lot size 1. And I will explain a little bit now. Okay, what are the definitions behind there, and also what's the theory behind there, and what do you need to keep in mind if you do something like lot size 1 production. So I always like to give first, of course, a definition, so it's clear what are we talking about. So the lot size is the quantity to be produced before a changeover is required to produce a new product. That's clear. I mean, that's understandable. And if you look at the lot size, of course, these things applies, and that's like a very logical chain. So if you reduce the lot size in your production, Now, looking at the full year of production, you are the owner of a weaving mill, or you're a producer of like a bamboo, and you reduce the lot size. You don't reduce the amount of bikes that you're producing, but of course it's always new products. You produce more new products. So, and if you produce more new products, looking at 1 year, of course, you have to change more often the setting of your machines. And maybe you also need more materials, but as you saw in the examples before, at the end, it's always a bamboo, maybe in different frame. So it's not the material that's changed so much, but the setting of the machine, of course, will go down. And setting up of machines, if you think of a weaving machine and you have to change the warp beam certain times, you have to change the colors of your yarns and so on, more often. Of course, that's clear. The production time will waste. Production time will waste because you have more setup time. And if production time wastes, also production costs will waste. I mean, that's clear. So at the end, you get products that are more individual, but usually they are also more expensive. On the other hand, let's take it on a different view. If you raise the lot size, so if you produce like 10,000, 100,000 of the same product, of course, the amount for new products will lower. You will have less setting of machines. Production time gets lower and production costs get lower. At the end, your product is a mass product and usually available at a very reasonable price. But you have to keep in mind your storage costs will rise because you have more things in stock. You need more material stocks. You have more products in stock, and that's something that's going against that. So lot size 1, a company is able to manufacture products individually for each customer without high cost for production. So you know that's something where you work on. You have this mass production, you have this really individualized production, and now you want to bring these things together, produce individual goods at a very low price. At affordable price, and there are some advantages for companies and also for the end consumers if you do so, and that's typical for garment production. So if you get that, if you can bring these two things together, of course you can save time and money. You can reduce storage costs as a company, as a producer, and very important, you have an increased customer satisfaction. Explained like the example of my wife, who's really, I designed this for my baby. And you can offer something to everyone what they need. Of course, you can link that with digital measurements, digital clothing, and so on, and size suggestions for customers. So that's in garmenting. And for the end consumer, there are some advantages. You don't have to wait in long queues in front of changing rooms. During the pandemic, we don't have that. And a garment no longer needs to be tried on in several sizes because, it's individual design for you or the textile. You don't have to slip in clothes that are already used. And so at the end, that's what we say in Europe, of course, frustration-free shopping in the store. You can do that online. So there might be some advantage also for the customer. And as said, the value of the product will rise. So as pointed out already, the goal is to manufacture individual and customer-specific products profitable. And because you have smaller and the batch or lot size increases, the complexity of your processes also increase. And more complexity means you need more coordination. And you have to organize things. You have to talk to more suppliers. You have to, more coordination. And what's very important is, of course, the idle time between processes needs to be optimized. Things like setting time. You have to look at flexibilization, and of course, the variant management, as I explained before, is necessary. And again, improved coordination with the suppliers. So it's not only you needing more coordination, but you have to look, and the textile process chain is very long. You have to organize and coordinate a lot of things in this field. Often, there's the term mass customization also putting in place if you talk about this. And mass customization is defined as the satisfaction of an individual need at the price of a comparable standard product. You see, and that's again the same philosophy, lot size 1, mass production. And from a strategic point of view, there's an advantage of differentiation, how we say. So there's a higher customer value through the individual product. I think this point now is clear. There's a cost position. So the efficiency of mass production through a smart balance between flexibilization and standardization. So again, it's about finding the right spot between lot size 1 and mass production. And then very important, the interaction with the customer. So you need a stable solution space, remember the first examples. The solution space, for example, at Tesla was giving 3 kind of interiors. This solution space must be stable. So there's defined framework for individualization. And then very much important, the customer integration. The customer becomes co-producer of their individual solution. So that's from a strategic point of view, things you need to put in place. And this pattern, as explained, you find that in all the solutions of these lot size 1 production. So now looking at textiles, coming more to examples from our world, there's a question, what does the customer pay for? For which value is he willing to pay? So think of that. And now, as you know, textiles are tactile products. If you go, before the pandemic, if I went shopping as a textile engineer, you always start to touch, how soft is this, how is the haptic? So that's something, of course, that's somehow, and in the examples we had from our research, that's something that the customer is also missing. But there are ways where producers send beforehand small samples of the fabrics that can be used in order to individualize a sofa, a couch, something like this. Decommissioning costs are very high. Yeah, customers are often integrated in the process. We have that, but you don't need to forget the customer interaction. That's very time and cost intensive. And the customer, can be complicated. But you see, it's worth to put this amount, this energy into this interaction, because you can sell more value to the customer. And of course, always look at the configurator. How do you design the configurator? From a technical point of view, that must be fitting. So if the configurator is not doing well, the customer will come once, see it's not working, and then you lost the customer. Yeah, and now coming to some textile examples, and there was something in garments, and then you have to distinguish. Of course, looking at these kind of technical textiles, and here that's the example of a tire, and you've got these reinforcement inside of the tire, woven technical fabrics, normally made out of wire. And then is there a need for a lot size production of these technical fabrics? Do I need a textile configurator for these kind of fabrics? So especially in the world of technical textiles, there's a lot of standardization, and there are standards that you can address. So I would doubt that there's a really a market for lot size 1 production in these cases, but maybe there are customers asking for individualized tires because they like to tune their cars. So always take a good look. Is it worth to go so? Next example also, I always like to show this example of a woven fabric, an airbag. So also in this case, is there a need for lot size 1 production of airbags? I adopt also that there's a need. That's also a standardized product, and it's a safety product. It saves life, and I don't think that making it individualized, I don't see the sense. But coming to another example, and the very, very unique market of medical textiles, very interesting market, huge market. And that's an example. You see a prosthesis made out of a carbon fabric. And that's something where I would say, okay, having individualized medical textiles, that's something where I see, okay, that's a value adapted to the needs of the patient. Okay, what disease? So, and there are more and more startups also in Aachen, at Aachen universities, looking at how to design, how to create individualized textiles for medical application. So that's something where I would say, okay, that's worth to look at, to take a look at this. Again, looking at the theory. So, and that's something where the integrative production theory, something that was developed 10 to 5 years ago at Aachen University. And there, from a production point of view, we are talking about the polylemma of production. So you've got a market-oriented view and the resource-oriented view. So here you've got a dilemma, these called economics of scale versus the economics of scope. And that's something you find again, as I described before, mass production, lot size 1 production, that's something that seems to be going in 2 directions. Also from a resource-oriented view, having planning orientation and value orientation, and how you set up your production, how you coordinate your production, seems to be something going in 2 different directions. But by using, integrative technologies, hybrid technologies, using virtual technologies and means of self-optimization in technologies, and I will bring some examples later on, you can reduce this dilemma and going to the point where, okay, having this idea of producing with means of mass production, individualized goods. But I'll just bring 1, 2, 3 examples later on so you can get the idea. And again, from an economic point of view, the Antler model, that makes it again very, very clear. I love pictures. So here on this axis, you've got the batch size or the lot size. Then here you've got the cost per piece. And of course, you've got your variable cost per product, and they stay the same, depending on if you raise the lot size, batch size, but your fixed costs, you see, they will go down. That's because that's these economics of scale, and your storage cost will go high. So here, looking at small lot size, the main influence for your cost are the fixed costs. They are the main driver for your cost. At big batch size or big lot size, main influence are storage costs or maybe material costs, but they stay the same. And then you see, in general, your product, the costs have this very, very nice curve, the total cost, and there's an area in your cost structure between small lot size and big batch size where you have an optimized point of costs. So it's if you design such a process and thinking from a financial point of view, it would be very good if you get your solution, the solution frame, the lot size in such a frame to get here optimized costs. And now looking a little bit to the textile process chain, how to address that. And I don't need to explain you the Aachen model of production theory. Going from fiber to yarn, textile, then you might have 3D components and functionalized components. So, and that's something I always like about textile processes. First you produce a yarn, then you produce a fabric, then you need to cut it in general, and then you form again a product, and you've got different scales of productivity. And for sure, you have this individualization taking more and more place at the end of the value chain. if you think of embroidery and printing technologies and so on and so on. So in general, individualization is taking place at the end of the value chain. But if you look at our GOI model on the textile market, and you see here also again giving some numbers with the worldwide capacities going from fiber production to yarn filament production, textile surfaces, finishing, garmenting, brand and retailers. You see lot size 1 here by colors, they are standard, many example, few example, and where we didn't see any example, maybe there are examples again. You see that at the end of the value chain, there are more and more examples of lot size 1 that can be found in the value chain. And well, it's obviously that by using the right technology that makes sense. Also, again, by the scale of the productivity of the process, I jump back, having, if you produce fibers or non-wovens, you are looking at kilograms or tons per hour that are being produced. And of course, that's making something individualized here is something different if you're going lower with your productivity. So even by the theory, that makes more sense. Okay. And now looking a little bit at technology. And I saw before that there was someone, I think from Picanol, India, in the chat room. And, I brought this example for jacquard weaving. All of you know jacquard weaving. You get these very, very nice fabrics. But that's a typical example of technology where you can individualize your product. I don't need to explain you. By controlling your harness, you can control every warp yarn individual, and you can produce very, very nice individual fabrics. But as you know, also the productivity of a jacquard weaving machine is a little bit lower than a rapier or airjet weaving machine. So that's, again, you see there's a trade-off to be made. And just as a little side story, that Mr. Jacquard, he developed the system, I think in the year 85. And that's, he took these cards with holes and no hole. So that's a binary system. You've got 0 and 1. And Mr. Jacquard somehow designed one of the first computers in the world, because every computer right now, in principle, is also working on a binary system, 0 and 1. But our computers right now are, of course, a little bit more faster. Okay, now I'd like to come to an example. Let's see if this is working. I have to stop my laser pointer. I hope you can see the video is running. So that's an example of a embroidery production. You see a digital thread dyeing system. And now, if you talk about individualization, you see that the user is looking for a color, and then the yarn is dyed immediately to the color that he needs. So I put in the link for the video because it might be hard to see it over the system, but you can see already that the color can be changed very easily. And I let the video, you can choose any color, and then there's a standard dye process, but not on a fabric, on a yarn level. And you see, you have the possibility to control everything on a computer, then send it to your system. And I go a little bit back here to the video. Yeah, no, that's a good picture. That's a good picture. And now you see what you can do. So here, that's a embroidery system, and the color of the yarn is changing during processing the yarn. So again, here by the use of some integrated technology, a dyeing system is put into a embroidery machine. And of course, you can think of using this embroidery this dyeing system in a knitting machine or a weaving machine and so on. You can change the color of your yarn, and of course, think of not changing the color, but changing the functionality of your yarn. If you think of smart textiles and so on and so on. So that's again an example where the individualization, the way to create something, a mass product with the means of lot size 1 is being used. And I see if the video is running a little bit, yeah, you see. So that's a very good example. And I go back. Let's see if I can go back. You can see here the amount of colors that can be chosen by the operator. And I still go back so that you can see a little bit the machine. That's the machine that's being used. And you see the yarn, white yarn, you just need white yarn. It's going through this process and you get your colorful yarn beside. And you can also watch more videos in the internet on this system, so no worries about that. Another system, of course, another technology, digital printing. I don't need to explain you why this is for lot size 1 production something very, very interesting. And let me see if I can start the video. I have to turn off my laser pointer. And also in this case, you see that's the production of lot size 1 t-shirts. That's a factory in Poland. So in east of Europe, and they use digital printing in order to get something that's designed from the customer on the t-shirt. And what I liked, of course, they use very sophisticated digital printers. And you see here, he's scanning, there's a barcode scanner for the product, and then the product, yeah, he's taking a shirt and putting it on the station. It's going into the machine. You see here the printing process, and then there's this finished product. So also, yeah, lot size 1 individualized, and yeah, some advertisement for the producer of the machine. And if I go back, so that's company Spreadshirt. It's they are located in Leipzig. It's not such an old company. I think something like 10 years or maybe a little bit more or less. So, you know, we are in a very traditional industry, but Spreadshirt it's a quite young company for our industry, but they are very, very successful. They are opening even more factories, and in Germany, Spreadshirt, you see, again, they do have a web configurator where you can create your design here. And then what I really like, taking a look on how they design the production, you see here processes for the fixation, thermofixation, and then here they have all these digital printers being around this machine. So as I said at the beginning of my presentation, they looked very well on how to coordinate the processes, how to reduce idle times, you know, that might be ways how no long walking distance and so on and so on. So they looked very carefully on how to set up production efficiency to make this lot size 1 production even more feasible. And, you know, I always come with this example, and I will show it again. You know, that's Adidas with their lot size 1 production in Berlin. You know, it's about sweaters, and the customer was being interactive, you know, designing his sweater. Then there was a measurement of the customer. He went to a station. So there's again a configurator. And then the sweater was produced in store in 3 hours. And it was sold at a reasonable price, 100% merino wool. And, you know, that's an example. But as you know, and that's maybe a very important message to the students, you don't need to invent the wheel again, always. That's the idea behind this concept. That's the startup from UK called Unmade OS. So they came up with the idea having, you know, the configurator here and then a knitting machine in store, and then the sweater is knitted based on the configuration. So that's where Adidas copied this process, but they also did something like that. You know, where you have the app on your mobile, take a picture, and then you can design your shoe. I already showed these examples. And as you know, there is not only Adidas doing shoes, but also Nike. And there we are looking on the customized shoe manufacturing. And what's very interesting, so they did that in Mexico. And that was something called near-showing. So within 7 days from clicking buy, after 7 days, the customer got his individualized shoe. And they also had a store in New York where they have custom manufactured in less than 1 hour. So that's also, looking, okay, how does it make sense? How can maybe also the ways to the customer can be shortened, or what do you do while the customer is waiting for his products? Other examples from the textile world, that's the Red Thread collection. And here you see again, there's customer interaction. There's a questionnaire that the customer is filling out. Then he's taking two photos of the customer are taken. And there are auto-generated measurements being calculated afterwards. And then there's a one-of-a-kind garment. It's created just for the customer in just 1 week, based on the questionnaire, based on the data that was gained through this application. And you see another example of this. And more examples from the textile world. What is quite common, I would say, in Europe, that's for furnitures. So since, I don't know, more than 10 years, you can design furnitures, you can choose the fabric and the color and so on and so on. But then the customer has to wait a certain period until he received his product. Also for curtains, same here, woven home, and also for bags. So that's Bag Check. They are made in Berlin, very successful company designing all these lot size 1 bags with means of mass production. So if you look at the possible production layout, again, just to summarize this a little bit, of course, you need your customer design. You have to look at planning and control, and then set up the production, maybe with the means of mass production, with the support of that. But that's something where I would say, if you're entering something like that, of course, think of your production layout, and very important, how to integrate your customer in the process. And slowly coming to the end of my presentation, some lessons learned from projects we had with customers on setting up these things. It's, of course, keep it personal. So if you address the customer, have questions, have a quiz, something like that, where you interact with him personal. As said, keep it interactive. I mean, that's clear. Maintain a good customer relation. Also after the configuration is finished, after the order is made, stay in contact with your customer, inform him, okay, your product is being made, your product is being commissioned, and be professional in the interaction with your customer, not too casual or over friendly, find a good point, professional distance, but being friendly. It's about data. As you see the example before, where you collect data from your customer by taking pictures or asking him things. Of course, more flexibility and smart machines are necessary. Also the way how you plan and coordinate your production. There are maybe investments that need to be done, but in general, you have to see it in a process where you have to do several stages and have to see also what's the return on your invest. And of course, change is necessary. So we had companies that we supported in going this direction. Change is necessary. And of course, the will to learn, yourself have to learn, your staff have to be trained with new technologies. And of course, it's not only you as a producer that needs to adapt, but you have to look at the whole supply chain and the changes that need to be done there. And then it's always a vertical process integration. Take a clear map of processes that you're looking at. look at good examples. So like Adidas, don't invent the wheel yourself, but maybe you find examples that you can adapt to your need, and also look reducing costs, raw materials, reduction of waste, higher efficiency, that's important. And of course, and now coming to the end, doing all this, don't forget your business model. And that's, our typical business model canvas, where we design business use cases with our customers. So think always, what's your value proposition? So what kind of value are you offering to your customer with lot size 1 production? Is the customer willing to pay for this value? So what are your kind of revenue streams? And that should be done at a very, very early stage to see, is my business case really reliable? So I would suggest always go for a business model first before you look at the other things, because if that's not reliable, it doesn't make sense to do so. Okay, looking at the time, 50 minutes, I think I'm good in time. If you want to read more about it, I like to advertise some books. My book on Industry 4.0 in textile production, I think it's upcoming beginning of next year. Just recently, we published a book on sustainable textiles. That's something I can recommend. And there's a very nice book of a conference on mass customization and personalization, customization 4.0. And there's a dedicated chapter on textiles also in that. And now I like to summarize my presentation. So lot size 1, there's the opportunity to gain growth in the existing markets, but you need to improve your production and flexibility. You need more coordination. Customer interaction is very, very important. Technology can help if you design it well. And as said, don't forget your business model. And now I'm happy to, of course, since I know there are a lot of students, and if you like to come to Germany, if you like to see, okay, what can I do? Please get in touch with Dr. Moritz Reiner, the founder, CEO of Reiner Industries. He's, the most important contact point from us from Germany and India. So please, dear students, get in touch with him. And of course, I put this picture from last year at the end of my presentation. I would be very happy now we had the chance to give a certification of participation to the students. This year, I cannot do it. Last year, I enjoyed it very much. I hope I can do it in the future. And with this picture, I like to end my presentation. I like to thank you for your patience, for listening. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward for your question and answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gloy. Now the session is open for question answers. The audience are welcome to put their questions in the Q&A session.
There are common questions. There are common questions. And okay. I've got here the first question from Gopal. How much textile engineering industry is spending on R&D as a percentage of sales and now compared to European manufacturers? Well, that's so how much is spending on R&D? So I know for Europe and the textile industry, that's always something between 2 and 5 to 7% of the turnover that's spent in R&D. That's a roughly number. There are companies maybe, in a technical field going higher, but 5 to 10%, it's also something that I would suggest. There's a question. Majority of customers do not know what they want. They wish to have a choice and then decide. So how do you solve this? You need to create some ideas for the customers to decide. Yeah, that's a good question. So the customer does not know what he wants. And then you remember the examples where you have this web configurator, and then you give already solutions to the customer. So the customer can choose between, a leather interior in the car, maybe a woven fabric in red color, and then something like a Alcantara, to mention something, in gray. So if the customer, maybe he doesn't know what he wants, but you give, as you said, you give some solutions to him, you give a solution space to him, you can say, okay, you can choose between this, and with this, giving an option, it's make it more helpful, more easier for the customer to decide what he wants, if there's something that's fitting to his needs, to his wish. So, often the customer does not know what he needs, but you can help him with that. So then there's another question. Lot size 1 production is a costly process, especially for startups. What is your take on most companies preferring profit to quality and individualization? So, it's a costly process. But the revenues of your products can be higher. As explained before, in general, the customer is willing to pay more for an individualized product. So setting up these processes will also go to a good return on invest. And so for in Germany and in Europe, so if you produce an individualized product, often the customer, it's hard to make returns and things like that. That's something to keep in mind. But it's always a thing. You have maybe a higher investment at the beginning, then you have this phase, a little vary, but the return on the invest at the end is longer. And we see that for startups in Germany, they have a long breath. They're looking with a time period of 5 to 10 years. That's something where they calculate the exit, and that's then something where it's profitable, it's working. There's another question. In the future, can Twine digital thread dyeing machine will replace jacquard weaving? I don't think that this thread dyeing will replace jacquard weaving. I think as often there is a need for every technology. So there will be product and things that where jacquard weaving is a method of choice because of the productivity, because of the preciseness, maybe also because of the price of the product. Sorry. And on the other hand, of course, thread dyeing is now opening a new solution room to the industry. But there will be use cases where thread dyeing is replacing jacquard weaving, but there will be always room and always a need for existing technologies. That's always the case. Then they ask for, can I get more textile book recommendations? Yeah, so I give some book recommendation, and for these scientific articles, there's always literature and references at the end. So that's something where I would say start to look at these things. Will lot size 1 concept work for a B2B company? That's a good question. So, and for B2B, I think, of course, you have to distinguish some special cases. So, if you are a producer of textiles in a B2B market, where the end customer, so you have to look at your whole process chain. At the end, is asking for a standardized product. Of course, lot size 1 production doesn't make sense. But if you are a producer in a value chain where your end customer there's a feasibility for lot size 1. Then okay, you can adapt. So, but like let's say a product. We've got mechanical engineering, machine producer, and there might be machines like a paper machine. Let's say a paper machine. Paper machine, it's a large machine, and there, the pulp and the paper is transported on textiles. So there are coated textiles being used to transport pulp and paper. And For sure, I'm sure that a paper machine, as a large investment that needs to be made for a paper machine, these machines are for sure individualized for the need of the customer, for the paper mill owner. And in this case, so the paper machine is individualized. The components of the machine should be somehow individualized, and for sure, also the belts using to be transport the textiles, the pulp, and the paper somehow are individualized. So there are cases also in B2B where I see that lot size 1 might be already taking place or is necessary because things are designed individually for one case. But the amount of products are limited. So no, there are not so many paper machines being sold in the world like sweaters. So that's something you always have to address. There are more questions. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks, Dr. Gloy, for the nice presentation. Thank you. Which lot size procedure do you recommend for industrial purchase? Well, giving recommendations, it's of course, you know, I always say, first, take your time, do your analysis. So what kind of product, what's your market, and so on, and then make a research what technologies are existing. But as said, lot size 1, I feel from the production point of view, a lot of things are happening at the end. And then do not forget, again, the holistic view on everything. You need the configurator, you need the right interaction with your customer, and then production technology, and then spend maybe a lot of time into planning, operations, improvement of that. That's, of course, something that needs to be taken account very, very precisely. The transportation cost is high for delivering lot size 1, so export cost is not practical. We need to have 2 separate business models, one for big lot size and another for lot size 1. Please elaborate. Yeah, that's also a good point. So, of course, transportation costs need to be taken account, and to maybe get an idea to this question. Remember the example of Adidas or Nike. So these companies, they offer both. They produce lot size 1 and with mass production. So in Germany, if you like to buy an Adidas shoe, you can have it individualized. Then you pay a higher price and you wait a little bit. But you can go also to dedicated stores. Deichmann, that's a chain with stores all over Germany, where you buy like a mass-produced Adidas shoe for less price. So often they do have both business models in place. Some companies, you know, the lot size 1 and the mass production. So that's something that's very, very important. There's another question: what is the drawback of lot size 1? Yeah, drawback. As said, the complexity of the processes is higher. You have more variants, you have maybe more suppliers, maybe more materials, you need to change more often processes, machines. And therefore, complexity means you need more time and effort for coordination. And that's one drawback of lot size 1. I mean, in mass production, the philosophy is, of course, to reduce this complexity, to reduce the amount of coordination, to get it, you know, to a more affordable price. And now going to lot size 1, you go the opposite way. Of course, you have more coordination, you have more complexity, and then it's how you handle in a smart way these approaches. There are coming more and more questions. For sure I cannot answer all the questions. There are a lot of questions on to the general market. There's a question: what is the future of sustainable products? Yeah, so that's a different topic. So the future of sustainable products, I must admit, there is no doubt about that. There's a bright future for sustainable products. You know, there's in Europe we did something. We do have a new European Commissioner, van der Leyen, and at the beginning of her position at the EU, she came up with something called the Green Deal. So now what's happening in Europe is that even by regulation, the textile industry is moved to be more and more sustainable. And there's till 2025, there are new circularity laws being put in place. And there are now projects being started, being initiated to have, more recycling hubs all over Europe to close the loops in the textile industry. So sustainable products, that's a must-have. That's a must-have. If you are a manufacturer of textiles and you don't have a strategy on sustainability, that's going to be hard for you in the future. Then there's another question. Are machines going to replace most of the first-hand workers, leading to high unemployment in the textile industry? That's a very good question. That's a very good question. And from my point of view, and I don't see these empty textile mills. I don't see them. And if you saw the video of the digital printing on the shirts, and there were workers being active. So, and it's from my point of view, from a technical point, it doesn't make sense to have it, like a 100% automatic mill. We can fly. I always say we can fly to the moon, and China was landed on the moon, and maybe we can fly on the Mars. For sure, we can also design like a 100% autonomic textile mill, but I think from a technology point of view, that will not work very sufficient, especially for lot size 1, where you have this huge complexity. Somehow it's still, chances are limited, because, just thinking of having different textiles that need to be grip and take somewhere. There are so many ways of having different textiles. That's still very complicated, And there were dreams of having like this automatic, if the warp breaks, an automatic repair of warp breakage. It's sophisticated. And then there's a question on why should we do that? We design technology, we design factories, and it's also in our responsibility, that's as an engineer, to say, okay, we do see the value of work, and work is value, so we give work to our people. So and it's still economical. So there are several ways, and my personal point of view, it's you get simply better and more if you have like this human-machine interaction. So machine at the end, machine is stupid. They're all talking about artificial intelligence, but these are algorithms, with dedicated pattern, and even a neural network an artificial neural network is just as smart as the data you put it in it. So it's always, you get better results if you have human-machine interaction. That's for sure. So I don't see that happening. And even when technology is replacing a lot of workplaces, a lot of new workplaces are being created. So, if there's more digitalization coming, you need, of course, more people being able to handle these things also in the textile mill. So in the perspective of the future of the textile industry, I'm confident. There's another question: will 3D printing having a big effect on manufacturing in general? As lot size 1 can be used better with this technology. Yeah, 3D printing. Yes, 3D printing has an impact. And there are first things, like these 4D technologies in Aachen. But why I didn't put 3D printing in my presentation. 3D printing, for me, is still missing this textile character, the flexibility of a textile, if you design it like this, of course you can have stiff textiles in a composite, but with 3D printing, so far the material you can use as 3D printing, they need to be extrusible, and they are still somehow limited. There's research on widening the scope of materials that can be used in 3D printing, but I see that the end products are not well, giving a full textile character. So what you see is that by 3D printing, you have a textile where, on dedicated spots, they 3D print material to reinforce certain areas. And that's going into lot size 1. There I do see the advantage of this technology, but still from my point of view, that's under research, that's under development, and there might be still a couple of 5 to 10 years until that's getting, for market more feasible. Okay, what else do we hear? Will you recommend this method for India, as majority of Indian customers won't prefer too much expenses? Well, what I can tell you, also in Germany, in Europe, the customer don't want to spend much if they, so that's I think on the nearly everywhere on the globe, the customer is looking to get the best price for a product. But why not? Also in India, these, I think they are personal products, lot size 1 being in place. So also in textile, that's something, that should be always taking into account also for the development of the industry, something, and then it's getting interesting. The price doesn't need to be like this, but, a little step on that to fulfill these needs could be of interest. Of course, I understand there are also different problems than a lot size 1. That's for sure. And that's maybe also a good message, something that we learn from our products. Textile business who's not did his homework well before going to lot size 1 will not be successful in lot size 1. So please make your homework first before you enter new things. Okay, so as a textile producer in the middle of the value chain of an apparel industry, how do you figure out what design the end user will like? Yeah, that's a good question. How do you know that? How do you know what design the end user will like? Maybe you ask your end user, get in contact with him. You ask, you have and that's something I pointed out. Someone who's producing B2C lot size 1, he has also to organize his supply chain. So actually, he should be coming to you and say, okay, that's the solution that we're offering. But you can also be proactive and go to the next one in your value chain and say, oh, okay, listening, what might be there for solution? So of course, it's a lot about communication. Communication is very important. So my voice somehow, when I look on the time, I'm in good time. Seema is smiling, everything is good for that. I'm looking at what is your view on 3D printing in the textile manufacturing? I enter that. Is it possible to duplicate the customized designs for repeated designs? And that's the last thing I will address for now, because what we see often that if there's someone like this configurator and a customer is designing his individualized product, they often promote that in social media with Instagram and all these things. They promote, here I designed this product, look how good it is. And of course, in this case, it's repeatable because it's, they publish it, you can see it, you maybe copy it, but there's a side effect taking place. The customer is doing marketing for you as a producer for free. And that's something that we notice very much, where these companies, they start with influencers and, how we can influence that. But in a lot of cases, the customer, he is promoting his individualized good in social media, and you get free marketing by that. So the interaction and how professional you interact with the customer is very important. So because of digitalization, we have a connected world, we have World Wide Web and all these things. So also a bad experience from the customer can be promoted very fast through his network. So always be aware of that. Put customer first and think of it. He can be the best promoter of your product.
Dr.
Okay.
Gloy, we are almost ready to close, and unless you want to take more questions, we are ready to wind up. And probably a few questions we can select and maybe later respond by email or something.
Of course.
Is that okay? Is that okay
Of
with
course.
you?
Of course. Perfect.
So may I request Mr. Ketan Sangvi, Honorary Treasurer of India ITME Society, to please express thanks and close this session.
Thank you, Seema. I think it's been a wonderful start to our event, and I'd like to, on behalf of the ITME Society, convey our appreciation and thanks. Ms. Roop Rashi Mahapatra, IA&AS, Textile Commissioner, Dr. Yves-Simon Gloy. I think Ms. Mahapatra gave us some very interesting suggestions about what is happening and what she would like the industry to do. Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Gloy, I think thank you once again for a wonderful presentation. Excellent as usual. I'm still trying to recall the fun that everybody had after the December function. I'm sure you remember that. Mr. Marcus Kral, thank you once again. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a few of our distinguished guests today. Shri A.B. Joshi, past Textile Commissioner, His Excellency Mr. Demeke, the Consul General for Ethiopia in Mumbai, Mr. Upendra Pratap Singh from the Government of Karnataka, Handloom and Textile Commissioner, Ms. Swati Pandey, who of course, Postmaster General, who of course gave a wonderful presentation. Her presence at our December function was also excellent. Just a small word to say thank you very much for being present, ma'am. Mr. Kohli ji, Joint Textile Commissioner, members of the media, distinguished members of the industry, students and staff from the various institutes, and of course our team at the India ITME Society. Thank you all very much for working hard to make this event a success, for being present, and we look forward to seeing you all once again at 2 p.m. when we will have our panel discussion. Thank you all once again.
Thank you very much. I also would like to extend thanks to Mr. Verma from the Joint Textile Commissioner and all the team from Textile Commissioner's office who helped us connect, coordinate, and once again, thanks and wishing everyone a wonderful afternoon and coming festivals of Christmas and New Year. Thank you. We would be happy to welcome you back again for our afternoon session. The logins would start at 1:45 India time. So please feel free. That is a firebrand session with many experienced people discussing and debating on sustainability as a key driver to growth and future business strategies. So I would like to welcome you all at this point of time. You have some time to have your lunch or breakfast, whatever your time zone is, and then see you back in a short while. Thank you. Thank you very much.